Pastor Michael Todd. Have fun. Come on, y'all, let's give God some praise in this place. Oh, this is our last praise of 2018. Can we give God a shout of praise in this building? Hallelujah. I want you to high five 3 people around you and say, today's my day. Like, I just need you to find 3 people. Tell them, today's my day. You can be selfish at this moment. Tell them, today is my day. You may be seated. I'm so excited to be in the house today. And I've been to Dallas and the Irving and Fort Worth area several times this past year. But this may be one of the most special times just because of the fact that none of y'all would know me if it wasn't for Tim and Juliet Ross. And I say that not as pleasantries and just to say different things. You know, people get up here and kiss butt and all that other stuff. And that ain't me. But when I was about to give up in youth ministry, Tim called me from Australia. He didn't know me. We had met one time because we asked him to come to our youth conference. And SoFly is a cool name, Tim. You're whack. Sold out Free Life Youth. Anyway, he came, he didn't know us, and then probably 6 months later, he called me from Australia. I don't know how much that phone call cost because FaceTime wasn't available and Wi-Fi was not how you called people then. And he said, man, God will not let me stop thinking about you. Like, what's going on? And that very day, I told my wife I was going to quit ministry. And he stayed on the phone with me for about an hour and a half as I just vented. And I was walking in my backyard telling him why I didn't want to do ministry anymore, why church wasn't for me, why. And he said, hey, man, let me call you right back. And I was like, from Australia? And he called his wife, Juliet, and he said, I'm going to ask my wife if you guys can come stay at our house this week. He's like, because we need to connect. And I was like, oh, okay. Hung up 5 minutes later, he called me back. And he said, yep, my wife said it's fine Wednesday. This is Saturday. He's like, can y'all come Wednesday? He's still in Australia. He said, I get back Tuesday. You come Wednesday. He said, just get down here. You won't have to worry about anything. And literally, me and my wife drove right before we had our daughter. And we pulled up at midnight. And Tim opens the door in a 4XL army shirt. Like, I don't even know where he got this shirt from. And then the Reebok shorts that have the old logo, like the British logo. Like, I don't even know where you get these. He's had them since he was a teenager. Anyway, and the thing that impressed me is he didn't care. He wasn't trying to impress us. He was trying to help us. And he stayed up with me for 3 nights and talked me off the ledge. Like, answering my questions. I found out later that him and his wife had given me and my wife, we were nobodies. Nobody knew us. We were youth pastors from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Like, nobody knew us. Him and his wife gave us their master bed room. And they slept on a pull-out couch in a spare room in the back for 3 days. People don't talk about this stuff publicly, but that was the thing that saved me from quitting when the enemy was trying to tell me that I was not worth it. And so today, as I stand on this stage, I honor you, sir. Because everybody's liking and fanning, but you saved me. Can we give God praise for Pastor Tim? Oh, y'all can do better than that. And Pastor Juliet Ross. And I love you, man. I love you. I'll just say, never judge a book by its cover. And do what God tells you to do, even if they can't do anything for you. Because you never know what your investment will do. I'm excited to be in the building today. And this is the last time I get to preach in 2018. So for the next 40 minutes, I'm about to give it all I got. Like, you see this leg moving right here? That's my all I got leg. You hear what I'm saying? And so I believe as we start today, I got a burden in my heart, okay? So as we go into 2019, this is the time where everybody starts shouting cliches. And I don't even know one that rhymes with 2019. Okay? It's going to be a heightening in 2019, and I don't know, that's whack. But I'm not going to shout any cliches. I want just to go to the Word of God, and I feel like God's given me a prophetic word for every person who showed up today. And God started dealing with me about this probably 3 months ago, and I spoke a version of it at our church. But God told me, he said, I want you to bring it fresh today. And he said, I want you to tell everybody who comes to the church today and who watches on podcasts and who listens back that 2019, the pace has changed. Everybody say the pace has changed. See, the thing is, like, when we start doing something for God, our natural inclination is to find the rhythm of it and to get comfortable in how God is doing something and expect him to do it that way for as long as he's going to be God. And anytime anything comes to change it, we think it's the devil. Anytime he starts to make us uncomfortable, anytime we start to maneuver, anytime relationships start leaving, or we know they're supposed to leave, we start saying, the devil, this is not God. But God came to me and he said, Michael, for what I'm trying to do in this next season, I need everybody to know that the pace has changed. And see, the thing about pace is something that is not fast or slow. Pace is set. And I need everybody to understand this. Everybody just clap with me. Everybody clap. Follow me. Yeah, come on. And everybody clap your hands. Everybody clap your hands. Come on, let's speed it up. Yeah. Okay, stop. Okay, the thing about what we just did is the pace was determined by me. Because I set the pace, you followed the pace. What God is saying is in this next season, I have things that you are going to be graced to do. But it will only come when I set the pace. And many people are out here trying to make their plans and set their own pace without his presence. How many of us have made a plan? Let's be honest. Let's be a hot, humble, open, and transparent church right now. How many of us have made a plan and asked God to bless it after we already made the plan? Hands high. Stop lying. See, the problem with that is any plan you make outside of God, you have to sustain until he gets there. And too many people in 2018 made plans without God's presence. And what is happening right now is we get to the precipice of a new year, and what we're about to do is the same thing we did last time. Is make a new plan. This year I'm going to have a relationship, and he's going to be fine, Lord. And I just see your glory all over me because it's going to be all over him and he going to be all over me. We start to do all of these things, but God said, what if it's 3 more years till I give you the person you're supposed to have? Do you want the counterfeits for the next 2 years? Or do you want to wait on the pace that I set? Some of you, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm going to do this business, and God said, but there's 8 more months of training that you need to go by serving at a place where they're not going to pay you enough. But are you looking at the dollars or are you listening to my voice? Will you obey me even when it doesn't make sense? And God's saying the pace is changing. But the crazy thing about it is that if you don't listen to the one who sets the pace, you make mistakes, do things outside of God's timing, and then you try to blame him for the results. And that's why a lot of people get burnt out on God and they get burnt out on what he's doing, and he asks them to do something in one season and then we stop. It's because we didn't listen for the pace. And today I believe God is changing the pace for many of you. And when God changes the pace, something interesting happens because we first have to listen and we have to get a vision. Everybody say vision. I want to go to one of my favorite scriptures in Proverbs 29, verse 18, because vision is a big deal, okay? And as we step right here, even for this church embassy, this is the first Sunday of you guys doing 3 services. And this is a vision that has been even put out in Pastor Tim and Juliet's heart. And I just feel like I need to speak into this for this church as well as for your personal life. And I want you to look at this. And I'm going to read this out of the Message version. It says, if the people can't see what God is doing, they stumble all over themselves. Part of the reason you failed last year and were falling is because you couldn't see what God was doing. And I need everybody to see this has everything to do with vision. Everybody say vision. But when they attend to what he reveals, they are most blessed. I want you to see something like God's purpose for every person in here is, number one, see what God is doing. You got to see what God is doing. The second thing you have to do is take part in what God is doing. So if God is showing you something, hey, I want you to serve in this area, or I want you to save money this year, or I want you to be faithful in this one area. He says, see what I'm doing. And then he says, I don't want you to just think that's a good idea. I want you to take part in what I'm doing. So if God is telling you to go to marriage counseling this year, or if he's telling you to start writing the book, spend 1 hour every day trying to write the book. Even if nothing comes, I want you to set aside. I want you to take part in what God's doing. And this is the promise of this. He says, and then you will be most blessed. And I'm trying to give you formula because vision is a big deal. And I got to be personal for where I am as a pastor. Last January, this time last year, is so crazy. None of y'all knew me this time last year. Because I was being faithful over what God asked me to do in Tulsa, Oklahoma, with about 500 or so people in attendance at my church. Our church looked about like this. Pastor Tim, I have to tell this as a testimony, came up to Tulsa, and we were sitting in a meeting where we were planning. We were getting vision for 2018. We were about to take over the freaking world for Jesus. And we're in this meeting, and he stands up and he says, hey, man, the church has grown like 400 or 500 people. The budget has grown $400,000. God has done some amazing things. He said, but this pace is not sustainable. It's time for you guys to stride. I said, nah, I rebuke you. Nah. And for the rest of the day, we basically lightly argued about how could God be asking us to change the pace right now when everything's going right? Like when everything's moving the way that we want it to move. Why would God change the pace now? And we came to the revelation that Jesus did everything that he was called to do in 3 years, and he did everything he was supposed to do while walking. You never hear about the disciples and Jesus running to their next appointment. And in haste, the disciples dipped to the next place of miracle. You never hear about that. They walked everywhere. Even when we find him on an animal, he could have been on a horse. We only find Jesus on a donkey, which is a what? Walking animal. You ain't never seen a donkey gallop. All I'm trying to say is that Jesus did everything he was supposed to do in a short period of time, but he was never rushed to what God wanted because it was going to happen when he found the pace of grace. And so out of that meeting, we said, all right, God, what are you saying? He said, it's time to slow down for you. I said, slow down? No. He said, yes, obey me, or what I have for you is not going to come to pass. So we canceled. I got up, Tim is my witness. I got up in that meeting and we canceled our whole Christmas production that day, December 5th, 2017. So literally, I'm twiddling my thumbs for the next 2 weeks because Christmas is church people's Super Bowl. We're going to get people saved at Christmas. And we had nothing. And God said, I just wanted to see, did I have your heart? I just wanted to see if I changed the pace, would you obey me? And I want you to know that what I'm about to do, you don't even got nothing to do with except you obeyed me. And Tim's exact words is, he said, if you obey God, he's going to clown you. I said, all right, you better get to going, bozo, because we set a goal last year to see 100 people join Transformation Church as we slowed down. And I mean, we were set on it. And a girl who doesn't go to our church and is not a part of our organization posted a 10-minute clip of a sermon that I did on relationships from 4 months before that on Twitter, and I ain't even have a Twitter. And 2 million people watched it in 48 hours. And after that, they went to the YouTube, and where we had 1,800 YouTube subscribers, within days, it went to 180,000 people. And they were binge watching sermons I had done 2 and 3 years ago. And God, I go to pray, and I go to talk to him, and I'm expecting him to talk back, and he's just laughing at me. I told you, my way is greater than anything you could ever do. But I don't want you to miss the point. I don't want you to get on the impact and all that. I want you to understand it's when God called for the pace to change. That was the breaking point to the miracle. So we start walking through this season, and God opens door after door after door after door after door. And our church goes from 500 people to almost 3,000 in 10 months. Like I can't make this stuff up. We go from nobody seeing what we're doing to every week when I stand on the platform at Transformation Church, but in 6 days, 100,000 people have watched the message again. Now, why am I telling you this? It's because none of this was a plan that I came up with. It was the result of obeying a pace that God set. Now, let me help you. Let me bring it to your situation. Everything you're trying to do, if God did not set the pace, you are wasting your time. And I want to come to you like this strong as we end 2018, because some of you are about to waste another year. Another one. DJ Khaled, another one. You're going to waste another year trying to do it your way. But if you could quiet and still yourself enough to get in the presence of God and ask God, what am I actually supposed to be doing this season of my life? And don't add anything to it, and don't take anything away. For some of you, he's going to say, it's time for you to speed up and do what I called you to do. For others of you, he's going to say, it's time for you to slow down. Remember, pace is not fast or slow. Pace is set. Everybody say, pace is set. But it only can be set by God. So I want to show you an example in the Bible of where pace was set. And because the people followed the pace, they got to see a miracle. How many people have heard of the story of the Jericho walls coming down? Okay, I want you to look at it from a different perspective. We know the walls come down at the end, okay? But why did the walls come down? And I want us to look at this, and I want us to see what vision and pace have to do with the miracle that I believe God's about to do in your life this year. Does anybody believe, like just somewhere deep down in you, that 2019 is going to be a year of significant change for you? Not hype, but I mean something's going to happen for you this year. I'm about to give you the key. Listen. Let's go to right now to Joshua chapter 6, verse 1. It says, now the gates of Jericho were tightly shut up because the people were afraid of the Israelites. No one was allowed to go out or to go in. It was fortified, okay? But the Lord said to Joshua, I want you to notice right here, he did not say it to Joshua and his boys. So many of us are looking for committee approval for the thing that God has called us to do, that we stop doing what he said. He spoke to Joshua. And if your name is Shaniqua, he came to speak to Shaniqua. He came to speak to Timothy. He came to speak to Aaron. Whatever your name is, when God speaks to you, you may not have everybody's approval to know that it was God. This thing said, and the Lord said to Joshua, I have given you Jericho, its king, and all of its strong warriors. I want you to see this right now. Point number 1, write this down. Vision is always for victory. God never gives a vision that he wants not to come to pass. So the thing that God shows you, it's for victory. And I love this because when the pace changes, God's going to give you a vision that contradicts your situation. And you got to be able to see it, because some of y'all been broke all your life, and then it's like, God, I see myself being blessed to be a blessing. I don't know how that's going to happen. That is a vision for victory. Your marriage is on the rocks right now, and it's like, I can't stand her, and her breath stinking, she won't even give me now, and like all of those different things. But God's showing you a happy whole marriage, helping other couples. That vision is for victory. Oh, I get it. Many of you don't know what vision is. Vision is not sight. Sight is what you see with your eyes open. Vision is what you see with your eyes closed. And some of you have only been looking at what it is and not what God says. And today I'm asking you, maybe there's some time that you got to get away and you gotta bird box this thing. What's that movie? Is it The Bird Box? you gotta close your eyes and get a vision of something that is not yet here. Because I came to tell you that the vision is for victory. Somebody just say that. The vision is for victory. And y'all don't even believe it. The way you just said it was so weak. And I know why, because so many times we get a vision, but then we don't follow the pace that God has set, and so it doesn't come to pass. And so when you think about it, think about Joshua sitting there with a fortified city in front of him, and God saying, yeah, that's yours. Everything, the king, and all the mighty warriors, it's yours. If Joshua took the stance like many of us, we would try to convince God why it wasn't ours. Well, God, it's closed up. They won't even let me in. I wasn't born into the right. I don't have enough. I don't have everything that's needed. And God said, will you believe what I just said to you? And today, my question is, will you believe? If he told you that he was going to heal you, if his word says that you're healed, if he's telling you these things, will you believe what God said? So Joshua, he believed that this vision God gave him was for victory. And so then this is my second point. When I look at this, vision determines pace. So God's going to give me a vision that he wants to come to pass, and it's going to be for victory. But now the vision he gives me is going to determine the pace that I'm going to be able to go out. Look at verse 3. It says, you and your fighting men should march around the town once a day for 6 days. That's the pace. Now, if God gives us a plan, a lot of times we get vision and we want to go away with what he said and make our own plan of how to do what he said. You said, I'm going to be married, God? Amen. And then bing bong, oh my God, Amazon man. God just told me I was going to be married and you delivered. Like, the crazy thing about it is, I'm making a joke about it, but that's how we do in most of the situations in our life. God gives us a vision, we make up the plan. We don't hear full instructions to what God is saying. But look what he says. He says, when you get the vision has to determine the pace. That's why we have to get in God's presence to be able to hear. Okay, God, you said I'm going to be married. What pace should I go at? Well, you need counseling. Personal, not marriage. Because the baggage you about to bring into what I got for you, he going to leave. He ain't even going to recognize you. And so the pace needs to be set by God. And I did 8 months of this. And then God said, oh, now I want you to go join this church. God, I don't like that church. I don't think that church. See, this is the thing I need everybody to understand. His ways are not your ways. And his thoughts are not your thoughts. And he's trying to create a story that you don't get glory from, that he gets glory from. And so now the pace has changed. He said, I want you to walk around what is fortified one time a day for 6 days. Okay. God, is that it? Nope. See, because if Joshua would have ran away and said, God told me to walk around the wall once a day for 6 days, and God said it. He could have literally said, God said it. And it was the truth, but he would have only got partial instructions. I want you to look at the rest of it. He said, verse 4, 7 priests will walk ahead with the ark, each carrying a ram's horn, on the 7th day. Everybody say, on the 7th day. You are to march around the town 7 times with the priest blowing the horn, okay? So I have a couple things I need you to see right now because the pace is about to change. They've been going around doing the same thing day one. Well, God, I feel like I can do so much more. God, I feel like they don't see my potential. God, will you obey what I ask you to do? Well, God, you know what I'm saying? I can sing, I can dance, I can play. You know what I'm saying? I can, yes, serve in the children's area. That's the pace I set for you. Day two, I'm still serving, Lord. This feels insignificant. All right, God, I did it twice. I tithed twice. I said no twice. How many days did I tell you? 6 of the same pace. In 3 days, Lord, you resurrected, you defeated death, hell, and the grave. Give me something. I need you to obey the pace that I set. And what happens, though, when we start getting into the same pace, then we start taking for granted what God's called us to do. And it's like, well, that's all God ever asked me to do. 4. 5. I'm about to finish this. 6. And then God says, now it's time to change the pace. Hold on. All I do is 1 lap a day. Oh, don't act like, because when you've done the same thing for so long and you're obeying what God tells you and then he changes the plan, you try to tell God that's not what I do. I don't go serve kids. You hear what I'm saying? I'll kill a kid, but I ain't serving them. Like I don't give my money, not my money to the church. Consistently, all you asked me to do was show up. And I've shown up for 6 months. And now you're changing the pace? I only go to 1 service a Sunday. But then you ask my pastor to go to 3? And you want me to come to 1 and serve in 1? That's not my pace. But I want you to see something beautiful that happens in this story is that God knows that our human nature needs his presence to be a part of whatever we're doing. And so I want you to miss something that I almost missed when I read through this story. And just write it down and I'll explain it. Point number 3, vision should be led by praise and presence. So when you get a vision, I want you to understand what God told him. He said, I want you to send out the priest who are carrying the Ark of the Covenant. I want you to send them out ahead. And anytime you see the Ark of the Covenant, I know it sounds deep and spiritual, but all that is the place where the presence of God resided. And he said, I want you to take the presence of God and have that go out before you. And then I want you to get everybody with a ram's horn, would be the equivalent of a trumpet, because a trumpet was something that declared something. It was something that broke forth in praise. And he said, I want praise and my presence to go before your plan. So every day that I'm walking around this wall, I'm not supposed to be just walking with my attitude. Can't stand this. God says, send your praise first and get in my presence and then do what I ask you to do. And this is the problem. Many of us are trying to make plans without his presence, and that is a problem. I think Joshua learned this from his predecessor, Moses, where there was a point in Exodus where Moses said, Holy Spirit, if you don't go with us, I'm not going. And many of you would rather go and do your plan than take his presence with you. But this is the season that you can't do it without his presence. And some of y'all need to say in 2019, I'm not getting into the relationship without your presence. I'm not taking this new job without your presence. I'm not going and doing that without your presence. Somebody needs to make a decision in your heart right now that I won't do this without his presence. Somebody give God a shout of praise in this place. And I I know it's working on your pride right now because you think you have a better plan than God. Tell me how that's worked out for you. See, this is one of the ways that I take the scripture and I use it literally in my life. The Bible says, the blessings of the Lord maketh rich and add no sorrow. Some of y'all act like the car you got is a blessing, but every time you get that bill, so much sorrow. And I've heard people give testimonies like, oh my God, they approved me, no money down. I got a 29% interest rate. You're gonna be paying that car off for the next 48 years. What I'm saying is we have to come from being dumb to think that everything's a blessing. God said I had a car that somebody was gonna give you 3 months from now. But because you went outside my pace and your pride wouldn't let you ride the bus or ask anybody for rides, because I just don't do that. I know y'all may not ever come back and you won't ever like me, but I don't want you to go into 2019 fooled that this is going to be a new year for you and you're doing the same thing. The pace has changed. And so you got to send your praise and his presence out before. That's why every day, it's a non-negotiable that you spend time in the presence of God. You have enough time to scroll on Instagram, to call somebody back, to text somebody. You have enough time to silence yourself. It's because that's the place where God is going to give you what you need to be able to make this year what he called it for. I'm telling you, some of you have been striving. That means using all your effort and energy to do what you think God's called you to do. But it's time for you to start striding. You got to find the pace of grace. And I came to tell somebody and wake somebody up that the pace has changed for you. That's why I'm so honored to be standing in this moment right now. I was there when Tim sent me the 2 logos for Embassy City Church. And he was like, which one do you think? And to think just in a short period of time, this church is going to 3 services. The pace has changed. There's something that God is doing, something that he is moving in your life. And all I'm telling you, if you do not recognize what God is doing, you will waste the moment that he was using to set you up for a miracle. And let me just show you how it plays out because I'm almost done, okay? So a change of pace can change the place. Write that down. A change of pace can change the place. It said on the 7th day, you are to march around the town 7 times with the priests blowing their horns. 6 days of the same thing, and then he switches it up. And I just want you to see this. This messed me up. That God's so good in his grace that what we think is a setback is a setup. What he was doing was taking people who were not conditioned for what he was going to ask them to do in the end, and he gave them a period to be ready for what he was going to ask them to do. So he did 1 time a day for 6 days. Another time, day 2, what he was doing was conditioning them for the ask of the last day, where he was going to have them do it more times in 1 day than they had done all 6 days prior. See, you think God's slow playing you and keeping you from something. He's keeping you for something. He's trying to preserve you. He's trying to get you ready for what he asked. Yeah, they don't see you now because when they're supposed to see you, they're going to call you and you're going to be ready. That's why, David, you have to kill the lion and the bear while nobody's looking. Because when they call for Goliath, you're going to say, this is easy because it was what I did when nobody was looking. It was the conditioning of keeping to the pace that God set that prepared Joshua for the moment that God was going to ask him to change the pace. And this is the sad truth about it. If God really asked you what he wanted to do right now, you wouldn't be conditioned for it. If he really asked you to support and love a woman the way that Christ loved the church, you so selfish you won't even share your fries. But I want a ride or die chick. No, you don't. So God's asking you to do a lap. He said this year, get consistent in your workout. what does working out have to do with marriage? He said, I'm trying to condition you to be faithful. You not faithful over your own body. All he's trying to do is condition the thing that seems so slow, the thing that seems unintentional, the things he's asking you do that seem pointless, it's conditioning for what he really wants to happen in your life. But so many of us are negating God's pace for our plan. And we end up asking him to fix problems. That's what the altar usually is for. Fix the problems I made with my plans. Am I lying? It's the truth. And it's so normal for you now that you don't even come to the altar. You make a decision that God knows my heart. And he said, yeah, that's why I sent Michael Todd from Tulsa, Oklahoma, to tell you that the pace has changed. On this 7th day, these dudes say, all right, y'all ready? Y'all ready to do what God's called us to do? You sure, 7? Like, all right. 1. Whew, 2, this easy, this easy. 3, wow. We've never done this before. 4. Like, really? Like, what I was complaining about not doing in one season becomes something that I have to press through in another season because the pace has changed. All right. I'm gonna keep following God. 5. 6. Okay, God, I need your help. Because sometimes what God's asked you to do is uncomfortable. It won't be Instagram worthy. Sometimes serving people or writing a book when nobody sees it, or serving elderly people who will pass away 6 months from now. It doesn't look sexy, it doesn't feel fulfilling. But God said, this is the pace I've called you to. One more. The wall about to fall. They start skipping. 7. Joshua? Why is the... Don't tell me we just did all that. And the wall's still up. I want you to get the key ingredient to everything that's about to happen in your miracle. Look at verse 5. It said, when you hear the priest give one long blast of the ram's horn, have all the people do what? Shout. As loud as they can. Then the walls of the town will collapse and the people can charge straight into the town. Let me help you. The miracle did not come in the action of them walking around 7 times. The miracle came because they obeyed the pace that God set, and then they got in unity. The shout was the sign of unity that was going to bring the walls down. This is so good to me. What's happening to most of us is we are renegading and doing things without the agreement of others. And what God is saying is, for what I have that have you been locked out of to come down, I need you to get in agreement with about one other person. And I'm telling you that in 2019, this is not the year of popping up, be like, look at me. This is the year where you lock arms with some people and you get in unity. That's why I'm telling you, Embassy Church, if Pastor Tim says 3 services, you don't be like, why are you doing 3 services? They're not even full, the 2 services. And what you better shut up and get in unity. You better speak the same language. Husbands and wives, y'all better stop fighting each other and know that you're fighting with each other, and you are going to walk in unity, because unity is what brought the fortified walls down. So let me just give it to you in a cute little point so you can go home and chew on this. What is unified brings down what is fortified. What is unified brings down what is fortified. It was not the 7th time around that caused the walls to fall. It was the shout of all the people at the same time. It was the unity that brought the walls down. I need everybody to see that the pace has changed for this church, and the pace has changed for your life. This is the season where you're not walking alone trying to figure out what God's saying. And then when a surprise, I'm just going to change myself and then I'm going to show everybody I'm a brand new person. No. This is time where you get accountability, where you walk in small groups and you get plugged into a local church. You heard Pastor Tim say it may not be this church, but you need to get in a healthy church to be able to get everything that God has for you. And I'm telling you, because I've drank from this well, this is a healthy church. And this is something that has breathed forth what you're seeing right now. All I'm telling you is you better find a pace of grace. Or we miss what God is trying to do because either we're comfortable in how we have done it, or we don't want to listen when he changes the pace. My question to you is, what is God asking you to change the pace on today? Yeah, I know. I already know. I'm just a cool kind of reserved dude. Like, I do my thing, and then I just, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you didn't even say nothing. And that's been your MO for 5 years. God said, this year I want you to be vocal. Start a Bible study. God, I don't even talk like that. You know what I'm saying? Moses didn't either. He actually had a stuttering problem. But he changed the pace. He said, I want you to get out this desert and I want you to go talk to government officials. Anything that God wants to do worthwhile, he's got to get a person, not a group of people, a person, to get the vision and to change the pace. I want you to see why this happened, though, okay? And this is it. Joshua 6, verse 16. It said the 7th time around, this is when it all happens, when the priest sounded the trumpet's blast, Joshua commanded the army, shout, for the Lord has given you the city. What's the name of this church? I said, what's the name of the church? I need you to hear what God is saying right now. That the walls that have been up in your life and even up in this Irving area, as we get in unity and we change the pace and we go to these 3 services and we see God do something amazing in this place, and what God does in your personal life, it's not so that you can get the glory. It's so that God can get the city. No, you need to hear me, because some of us are so selfish. We want the plan of God to come to pass so we'll be set up. And God said, I got children who I need you to make a lot of money doing what you do, because the only way they'll listen to you is if you got a lot of money. So I need your pride to stay low, and I need to be able to raise you high, because there's children that I got to get to that only you can reach. The reason I need you to be in that education system and they're not paying you enough, I'll supply all of your needs. You got to trust me, but I need you to be right there and work with special needs children, because there's a family that's going to give up hope because they think God left them because of this. I'm trying to get the city. God is saying, I need you to be unified so I can bring down what's fortified. God wants us in government. He wants us in entertainment. He wants us in every sphere, because he's got children that he's trying to call back and to get to him. And I know this is not the sexy message for 2019 because you want it to be at the end of 2019. I got all my things. But what if 2019 was about following the pace of the king? And as we do that, I just believe prophetically, God's going to open up cities. He's going to bring you're going to have your little business at your house, and God's going to say, all right, because you obeyed the pace, I'm telling you personally in our life, God has opened up the city of Tulsa, Oklahoma to us. And then he went beyond that and he opened up the state. Next month, January, right, Brent? The new governor of Oklahoma, his wife has been watching our messages and called the church and said, I need you to have 10 minutes at the inauguration of the governor to say whatever the Lord places on your heart. They seeing me in Jordans, Yeezys, and a tank top. And see, it doesn't matter what you look like. Will you obey the pace that God has set? Can he find a vessel? Can he find a church? Can he find a group of people that will obey the pace? And I could go story after story of what God's opening up for the world for us. But it all came because when he changed the pace, I didn't fight it. When Tim told me a year ago to the month that we're doing too much, I canceled Christmas the next, not even 12 hours later. Because God, I don't understand it, but I will obey. And then when God told me, like, I'm trying to give you practice because I only can talk stuff that I know. I can't come up here and puff up what I don't. We went from one service to right now we have 5 services every Sunday. In 11 months, y'all, we had one service. We had 5 services every Sunday. But about August, I was getting comfortable in our 3-service situation. I said, yeah, no, the people can come. They can stand outside. I don't care. I ain't doing no more services. Can I be real? And God said, go to 5. The devil's a liar. But when I obeyed the pace, we opened up a 4 p.m. and a 6 p.m. services. And the testimony that began to ring out is that people, because of the financial situations they've been in their whole life, they've had to work every Sunday for the past decade. And there was only 4 churches that had night services, and they couldn't get with any of the other churches. And since we've opened up our night service, they have now been able to find a church home they can belong. People are coming in their Olive Garden with they Olive Garden OG smelling like a salad and some lasagna. They don't care because their soul needs something. And what is fortified is coming down because our church said, yeah, I'll go serve. I'll no longer come to the 9 and the 11. I'll come serve at the 4 and the 6. I hate it. And it's inconvenient. But I'm going to be unified so the city can come to us. I'm just telling you, you can apply this in whatever area you know. I just came to tell everybody on the last Sunday of 2018, the pace has changed.